Rugby chief Raelene Castle says Bledisloe in all that matters. Rugby chief Raelene Castle says Bledisloe in all that matters. It sounded just a little odd, hearing the hoped-for defeat of the All Blacks in the Bledisloe Cup discussed in a New Zealand accent, but new Rugby Australia chief executive Raelene Castle made it clear yesterday that no Wallabies season would be considered successful until it happened. On a day when it was announced that the third Bledisloe Test would be played in Yokohama, Japan on October 27, Castle made it unmistakably clear that beating New Zealand remained Australia's highest rugby priority. It doesn't matter what we do on the spring tour, until the Wallabies are successful it will not be seen as a successful season, said Castle, who is Australian-born but very much NZ-raised. As per usual, the opening two Trans-Tasman tests will be staged in Sydney and Auckland on successive weekends, August 18 and 25. It was New Zealand's turn to stage two of the three Bledisloe internationals, so the All Blacks have surrendered their home ground advantage to play Australia in Japan. The following weekend, November 3, they will play the Japanese national side, the Brave Blossoms, in Tokyo. Like the All Blacks, Australia are starting to home in on next year's World Cup in Japan, but while Castle said that it was necessary to make some slight compromises while what-if scenarios were being played out in the Australian team, it does appear the days of the Wallabies flitting from combination to combination are coming to an end. Castle, who is only 3 weeks into the job, met recently with Wallabies coach Michael Cheika, and while they didn't specifically discuss his controversial behaviour at Twickenham during the England Test in November when he appeared to call the match officials King cheats, she seemed pleased he had reflected on the incident. "Did I feel I needed to go in and have that conversation about his behaviour? No, I didn't feel that," she said. "I felt that there was some reflection from Michael, and if he had his time over, he would have chosen to do things differently, and that's a learning," she said. He recognises that there are ramifications, and that's not how he wants to be seen going forward. He wants to be emotional and energised, but he recognises that some things come at a cost. He's great to engage with. He's enormously passionate about seeing the Wallabies succeed, and he'll always be looking to fight the good fight within Rugby Australia to make sure the Wallabies are getting the assistance he feels they need. We had a great and candid conversation, and I know that we will build a really strong relationship. Although Australia's international planning is all geared at one major objective, regaining the Bledisloe after 15 years in New Zealand's hands, Castle also recognised that within the Saints a joint venture, it needs all its partners, but particularly New Zealand. And despite the major push for a Trans-Tasman competition to replace Super Rugby, she did not accept this was automatically the way to go. "I have a very strong relationship with Steve Tay, her New Zealand rugby counterpart. We work together as colleagues in different sports." Castle was CEO of Netball NZ for 10 years, "and we have a strong respect for one another. But there is a piece of work that Saints needs to do around what we think is the most commercially viable competition, from a broadcast and sponsors perspective, but also from a continued rugby development. Essentially, there is no firm view from anyone. How Andrew Forrest's proposed Indo-Pacific Rugby Championship figures in this discussion, if it figures at all, remains to be seen." Castle will hold talks with him while venturing into hostile territory when she visits Perth over the next few days, with the issue of whether Rugby Australia grants Wallaby eligibility to his competition high on the agenda. While there has been rising media discussion around the possibility of the Western Force returning to Super Rugby by the time of the next broadcast deal in 2020, Castle would commit herself to no more than keeping the team strong purely from a National Rugby Championship perspective. "It is a bridge-building exercise, but it is genuine," said Castle of her visit to Western Australia.